Thank Hashem. We're able to learn every day. It's of learning. We should have the basic Mikdash immediately. So we're going to start today. Chaf Gimel Amud Beis. That's 23b, and we'll start right at the top. The Mishnah. Shtei nashim shenishbu. Two women were taken captive. Turns out that this case we have witnesses that they were taken captive as well. Remember, because that made a difference. If there were no witnesses that they were taken captive, and then they tell us that they were taken captive, and then they would tell us together with that they're not defiled, then we would believe them. But here we have witnesses. And this one says, I was taken captive, which we know already, but she adds that she was tahar, she wasn't defiled. And the other one also says, I was taken captive and I wasn't defiled. Well, it says, we don't believe them, because we have witnesses that say they were taken captive. One witness is not enough. Each one is one witness about themselves. And one witness is not enough. Now, it turns out that for someone else, one witness would have been enough. That's really what's going on here. Because we have a rule that this would be a case of ikun. She wouldn't be allowed to marry her, go back to her husband or whatever if he was a Kohen. So we really would trust one witness if they weren't testifying about themselves. It's not the one witness aspect. It is one witness, but the fact that the one witness is saying pure and it's about themselves is the issue. However, but let's say they would testify about each other. This one says the other one was pure. No, this one says the other one was pure. Then we would believe them, because as we said, that one witness to allow a woman back to her husband would be permitted. The sages accepted one witness by this case. Okay. In this Gemara, we're going to have 4 cases. And then the Gemara is going to analyze what's going on in these 4 cases. And it's going to be complicated, because each one of the cases seems to be a different scenario. And then we're going to have to try to resolve them, how to fit together, what's really going on. And then we're going to have that we're missing a whole part of this. There's really something else going on. It starts off very easy, though. But Tanarabanan, start in a brisa. Ani timeya v'chaverti Torah. She says, I'm Tameh, but my friend is Tar. Nemenes, it's perfect. She's believed. Now, why is she believed? Well, about herself, she's not supposed to be believed, except that here she's saying that she's Tameh. And when she says about herself that she's Tameh, we call that Shavia Nafshecha Ticha D'Isura, that she has taken on herself a prohibition. And so the fact that she says she's Tameh, we trust her with this. It means that she's considered Tameh because of her statement. And Chaverti Tahira is she is allowed to testify about her friend that her friend is Tar, because one witness in this case would be believed. Case number 2.
Witnesses that they were taken captive.
You're asking a big question. Don't ask that question yet. Yeah, let's keep us keep it simple for now. Anita Hayra v'chaverti Tmeya. She says, I am Tar. My friend is Tameh. Einan Emen, she's not believed at all. Also quite simple. Why is she not believed? Well, when she says about herself that she's Tar, we don't believe her. She says about her friend that's Tameh, we don't believe her. She's only one witness. We don't believe one witness. We believed one witness before when she said her friend is Tar, because that would be permitting her to her husband. But one witness to say Tameya doesn't do anything for us.
So she says,
Shavia Nafshecha Ticha D'Isura.
can't really be a witness against herself.
Yeah. So
Much against her interest.
Yeah.
She believed.
Yeah, we consider it's a machlekes if Shavia Nafshecha Ticha D'Isura is midin Shavia Nafshe. She considers on herself Chaticha D'Isura a piece of prohibited whatever. So it's machlekes how that works. Does it work as a neder, or is it a type of belief? It could be that it's really just a neder. This is Simon Dalet and Ebenezer. There's a pislich over there. It's like several pages long, going back and forth about if it's a neder. Yeah. So that's where this is discussed. So regarding herself saying that she's tahar, we don't believe her about herself. Regarding saying that her friend is tameh, we don't believe her about the friend that she's tameh. Okay, ani v'chaverti tameya. I and my friend are tameh. Well, nemenas al atzma ve'nemenas al chaverta. She's believed about herself, but she's not believed about her friend. Remember why she's believed about herself? She is allowed to take on herself an extra prohibition. She's basically making herself prohibited, whether we believe her or not. That's what she said. It's too late. About her friend, she's not believed because we don't believe her about her friend to say that she's tameh. Aniva chaverti tahira. This is the last case. I and my friend are tar. Well, nemenas al chaverta. She was believed to say that her friend is tar. Remember, one witness is believed when it comes to a shvuya, a captive. But she's not believed about herself. Okay. Amar Mar, let's go back to analyze what's happened here. The Gemara now skips the first case where she says that I am tameh and my friend is tar. Where she is believed, the Gemara goes straight to the second case where she says, Ani tahira v'chaverti tameya. I am tar and my friend is tameh. The worst case. She's not believed at all. That's the only case where she's totally not believed. Yeah, she's everything wrong. She's Amtar and my friend is Tameh. Hey Chidami, what's going on over here? Asks your question. If there's no witnesses there, 1 second. Alatzma, Amayle Mehemna. Why isn't she believed about herself? Nishpesi v'tayrani kam. We have a Mishnah. If she said that I was taken captive, no one else knows about it, but I'm also pure. I haven't been defiled. We know that she's believed. So in this case, she says that she's pure. Why isn't she believed? It's obvious there must be Adam. And she's saying that she's pure, even though there's witnesses. Well, the witnesses don't tell us that she's not pure. Witnesses just tell us that she's taken captive. So, but she has no belief. We don't believe her because, okay. So let's go to the next case. Case number 3, because we skipped case number 1. So it calls this the middle case. Yeah, if you drop case number 1, so this is the middle case, case number 3. In between 2, 3, and 4, this is the middle one. Ani v'chaverti tameya. I and my friend are tamei. Nemenas alatzma ve'nemenas al chaverta. She's believed about herself, but not about her friend. She says that she's tamei. Okay, now 1 second. I know that she's believed about herself, right? Because she can always make herself tamei. Problem is, if there's witnesses there that tell us that she was taken captive, why isn't she believed about her friend? It says clearly, what was the expression? That sounds like the friend is pure. Turns out that there's witnesses that taken captive. The friend is impure, even if she doesn't say anything. Now we come along and she says that the friend is impure. Doesn't make her pure. You know, I'm not saying like ein menace that she becomes pure. She's impure, exactly the way this woman testified. So you can't call that ein menace al chaverta. She's not believed. Not that she's not believed. There's not no belief there. It's exactly the way she said it. That's what we're going to paskin. Yeah. It must be that we don't have witnesses. And when we say she's not believed, the whole thing is not believed. We don't believe that the woman was taken captive. We don't believe that she's just one witness to tell us about someone else is nothing. Let's go further. So we just have now what we did here so far is that case number 2 has witnesses. Case number 3 does not have witnesses. Now we go to case number 4. Ani b'chaverti Torah, I am my friend at Torah, and menas al chaverti ve'in menas al atzma. She's believed about her friend, but she's not believed about herself. Right? She was allowed to say that her friend is Tar. If there's no witnesses, why is she not allowed to? Why don't we trust her? There's no witnesses. She can say about herself that she's Tar. She was the one that told us that she was taken captive. It must mean that it must be a case that there were Eidim. Aha, there's Eidim, then we can't trust her about herself. We can trust her about her friend. Mar says, what's coming out of here? First case in it's not the first. Second case and fourth case, we call the second case the Resha, because that's the one that we quoted, I guess. Quoted. We're not discussing the first case. We're only discussing from second, third, and fourth. So the first case of this group is with Adam, and the last case of this group is with Adam. The middle case is without Adam. Umar Abaya says, you're right. Reisha v'seifadik Adam, it's yasud lak Adam. Yeah, in means yes. That's the case. There's it was collecting cases and putting them together here, but you're right, the scenarios in each of these cases are different. Rav Papa Amar Kula dik Adam. Papa says no. There's Adam by all the cases. Okay. Why was she not believed about her friend in the middle case to say that she's Tameh? She is Tameh. Adam said that she was taken captive. You need a pencil?
For my map of the.
Who's Rav Papa? Rav Papa is a student of Abaya and Rava. Okay. However, Rav Papa adds in one detail here that really changes everything. Rav Papa's over here. Oh, no, not this one. Here. That's the where's the blind by? It's right there. So there's witnesses that they were taken captive. And the Papa adds in, and there's one witness that everything that this woman says, this witness says the opposite. Yeah. You have people like that. Yeah, nah. Okay. So how does it work? What happens is like this. Amra, she said, I need to may have a chaverti Torah. We're going through all 4 cases now. I am Tameh and my friend is Tar. We said that she's believed. She's believed about herself, and she's believed about her friend to say that she's Tar. She's believed about herself that she's Tameh, about her friend that she's Tar. But the one witness says, At Tahira. No, you're pure. And your friend is Tameh. Well, she has made herself prohibited by saying that she's Tameh. Chaberta and the friend, she's permitted because of her mouth. In other words, she said that the friend is Tar. That's good enough for us. The other fellow comes along and says that the friend is Tameh. We don't trust the one witness to say that someone's Tameh. We only trust one witness to allow her to go back to her husband, right? Like when a husband passed away, we allow one witness to testify, Mishum Iguna. It's so that she shouldn't be left without a husband. Okay. Case number 2. I am Tar and my friend is Tameh. We said this was not believed at all. She can't be trusted that she's Tar. And the friend, she can't say that the friend is Tameh. Now, the problem over here was that if there's Eidim, then why don't we believe her that the friend is Tameh? There were witnesses that they were taken captive. Now, Rav Papa adds in, and this is where Rav Papa's the critical point here. Says, it's actually, you're the one that's Tameh and your friend is Tar. well, we can't trust her because we have Adam that she was taken captive. She's saying that she's tar. Against Adam that said that she's taken captive, she's not believed. She would only be believed if there was a pesha asar. She's the whole one that told us that she was taken captive. But now, just to tell us her situation, now we don't trust her. Chaberta, what about the friend? She's saying that the friend is tamei. The other witness says the friend is tar. Mishtaya pumadeid becomes permissible because of that one witness that says that she was tar. Morning. Okay, case number C. Case number 3. Ani v'chaverti tmeya. I and my friend are tamei. Amala eidechad, and one witness says at v'chaverti tar. It's exactly the opposite. You and your friend are tar. So well, she already said about herself that she's tamei. You can't just permit her because she's accepted that upon herself that she's tamei. What about the friend? Friend is trusted on the because of the witnesses. Because of the other, not the witnesses, one witness. The other witness said that the friend is tar. So that's good enough. One witness that said she's tar is good enough for us. The Gemara says, why do we need this case? We already have everything that you want to tell me. I already know. I know that right away in case number 2. You want to know about if she's trusted to say that her friend is tamei? We know that from case number 2 that she's not. But and that one witness is good enough. So the Gemara says like this: Mao the mahani tarvayaters. No, could have thought that really we shouldn't trust her that she's shavi nafshecha ticha d'isura. We shouldn't trust her about herself. Could have thought really that they're tahar. By the kamrachi,
Tahar, does that mean like Sua?
that she wasn't defiled by the captors. When I say tahar. I don't know. She's married. Basula would mean she's a virgin. But here we say that she wasn't violated by the captors is what we're discussing. By the kamrahachi, so why is she saying that she and her friend are tamei? Tamas nafshi and pelishtim hidakavda. What she's doing is she wants to die together with the Philistines. That's what Samson said. He said, "Give me one more chance," right? So he pulls the pillars down. So what we're saying is really, she doesn't really mean she's tamei. She just wants to make her friend tamei. Of course, we don't believe her about her friend, but we don't believe about her friend. Maybe we shouldn't believe about her either. So kamash malan that we say no, shavi nafshecha ticha d'isura, that she makes herself tamei no matter what, if she says she's tamei. We don't believe her at all. We don't believe her about her friend, and we believe her about herself. We believe her about herself, and we don't believe her about her friend. About herself, we say that she's tamei.
She's willing to die with the Philistines.
No, we thought maybe she's willing to die with the Philistines, and that's why she's saying that she's tamei because she wants to get her friend tamei. So she thinks that if she says they're both tamei, that's we're going to believe her.
Right.
But the truth is about the friend.
Right.
Truth is, we don't believe her about the friend, and we only believe her about her.
But she gets to die without the Philistines.
She dies without the Philistines, right?
She dies, right? Bad strategy.
Right. Last case. I and my friend are tar. The witness says, you and your friend are tamei. Regarding her, we can't believe her when she says she's tar. And chaverta mishtaya pumadida, but her friend is considered tar because she said that this woman said that her friend is tar. Hasulamli, why do we need this case? I know Reisha the Reisha, that's exactly the first case. She said, the first case was Shavin Sheikha Ticha d'Isura, she said that she's tamei. But over here, we don't believe her about herself, that we know. And we know that we believe her about the friend when she says the friend's tar. Well, I could have thought, when do I believe her? In the very first case number 1, because she says, I am Tameh and my friend is Tar. I would think I only believe her when she was willing to incriminate herself. But over here, she's saying we're both Tar. Then I could say maybe we don't believe her. Maybe she's just trying to make herself Tar by saying, yeah, we're all Tar. Everyone here is Tar. Maybe I shouldn't believe her about the friend. So, Kamashmalan, that we do believe her. Okay.
So this
We believe about the friend and not about herself.
and not about herself. This is she wants to live with the Philistines, not die with them.
Right.
But they don't believe her. So she dies. The Philistines live.
Yeah.
Are the Philistines the Christian?
It's just an example of an enemy. We think that she doesn't like the other woman, possibly, so we're not going to trust her. So what could she do to mess up with this other woman? She might end up saying that she was defiled, even though she wasn't. So then when one witness says that their friend was defiled, we don't believe her. Now we're holding up the Mishnah. The Chinsnei Anashim, it's 2 men. Same thing would apply. What does that say? Like this time.
Don't believe her.
Oh, don't believe her.
I can't get it all in.
But it's coming in backwards by us. Yeah. Yeah, you gotta. You have a mirrored thing.
Can you fix that?
I can't hear you, but I got that. Okay.
I've been switching them so that it's not backwards. I'll switch it.
No, it's probably switches it not naturally for you.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Okay. The Chinsnei Anashim, 2 men. This one says I'm a Kayan. Okay. And and his friend says I'm also a Kayan. We don't trust him. What does it mean we don't trust him?
Like you said, I think earlier, you asked the parents. You asked their father.
Yeah, you would ask their father, but we don't trust them. We don't have any relatives here. They showed up from Russia, and here they are. Yeah. I'm a Kayan. So
Say, get out of here.
So we don't believe them to give them truma. That's what the issue would be here so far. But let's say they do it the other way. Let's say this one says my friend's a Kayan, and another one says my friend's a Kayan. So then they would be believed. Rabbi Yehuda says, yeah. Yeah.
Is that related to?
Actually, they're each saying about themselves and their friend that they're a Kayan. I and my friend are a Kayan. Now here they're saying, I and my friend are a Kayan. Are Kayan.
Not speaking against the
Right.
So you'd worry that
That's the problem. There's a problem over here that maybe they're what is it?
They're colluding.
Colluding.
With each other.
Yeah.
You get an idea.
Yeah. But Rabbi Yehuda says, "Ein mile l'kan al pi'edechad," and Rabbi Yehuda's view is, for sure, if they're each saying about themselves, for sure, if they're each doing it for each other, that's for sure a problem. But even if there was just one witness, it's also not acceptable according to Rabbi Yehuda. What's the Tanakhama's view that why could we trust one witness here? I don't know. Maybe it's Truma D'Rabbanan. Probably Truma D'Rabbanan. That's why we'll allow one witness. Amar Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Lazar says that's only if someone tells us that he's really puzzled. There's really a problem here. But if there's no problem here, why not? If someone shows up, he says he wants aliyah, he wants truma. We all the time, someone comes into shul, we say, "Is there a kayan?" And one guy in the back raises his hand. Yeah, it's a kayan. Okay, so we
There's
give
a
him an aliyah.
suffix, then he wouldn't need to, I suppose.
Well, hopefully. But so Rabbi Elazar says no. We can trust him to say that he's a kain. Now Rabbi Elazar would be no, not that he's a kain. We can trust him that to say that his friend is a kain. That's what Rabbi Elazar is saying. Now, Rabbi Elazar seems to be exactly like the Tanakama that says that we trust him to say about his friend. The answer is that Tanakama was saying that he's trusted even when there's a chashash gaimlin, even when they're corroborate. What is the word?
Operating.
Not corroborating, colluding. They're doing this for each other. But the Tanakama says even when they're colluding. But Rabbi Elazar says no, only when they're not. Only when we just have one witness. Okay. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel and Reb Shimon ben Askan Malnakun al Piyadechad. We have to see how is that different than the other opinions here. See in the Gemara. But that you can use one witness to make someone a Kohen. Gemara says Kol Hani Lamali. It's a very general question that the Gemara is asking now. We had a lot of Mishnayos telling us the same thing, that if the sole source of information comes from this person, then if they also say something that's in their defense, they were the ones that were self-incriminating. And then they say, but nevertheless, something else, we trust them. So we have a bunch of cases. Why do we need all of these cases? Basically, it's the same logic that applies to every single case. That says trichi. No, we need it. We're going back very far to what's the first mission? Daf Tesvav. Yeah, going back to Daf Tesvav now. We're going back close to 10 block, discussing the Mishnayos. This one question. It says, Vitana Maida Reb Yeshua, if we would just tell us the case of Maida Reb Yeshua, then Reb Yeshua admits. Reb Yeshua didn't trust the woman when she said that the fetus is from a Kohen, that the father of this fetus is from a Kohen. Or if she's with a man and she says, oh no, he's a kosher fellow. Well, Rabbi Yeshua didn't trust her, but Rabbi Yeshua admits that if a person tells another person, he says that this field used to belong to your father, but I bought it off him, he admits that we trust him. Over there, Mishum de Kajara de Mamaina. Why would we say over there we trust him? Because there's a Drara de Mamaina. Why do you have to say that? I don't know what Drara means. How do they translate? The phrase has that there was no question here before we even started. He's the one that raised the whole issue. Yeah. But he was the one that brought this up. So we had no, okay, fine. Aval Eidim Dlekajar de Mamaina. In other words, over here, he was the one that was self-incriminating. So therefore we should believe him. But by witnesses, what's the case of witnesses? Witnesses tell us, this is our signature. However, we were forced to sign. We didn't do this willingly, or we were puzzled, right? The witnesses tell us that. So over there, we trust them also. We trust them that to say that the document isn't valid. Now over there, the lekajar de mamaina. They don't have any loss over here. The witnesses are just telling us about another story. So maybe over there we don't believe him. So it had to tell us. The case of the witnesses, there's a pesha asur. Vitan Eidim, let's say it would only say the case of the witnesses, then I would know the other case as well. You trust him over there. You say that there's nothing happening, that it wasn't a good document. For sure you should trust him when he's self-incriminating. It says no. Itan Eidim mishum de la alma. Aval del nafshei eimalai. Say like this. originally, when they said that, yes, it is our signature, but we were forced to sign, they're not changing their mind over here when they said it is our signature, but we were forced to sign. That was one statement. They don't care enough about this that they switched it, that they changed their mind. What happened is they said, when they originally started their statement, this was their whole intention, to say that we were compelled, we were forced to sign. However, when it came to the other story, when it came to his own field that he bought from the person's father, it could be that he started saying, I bought this field from your father. I could be he started saying, this field used to belong to your father. Then he realized, this is getting bad. He says, but I bought it from him. So now he's switching his story, because of when it becomes something that's relevant for him, it could be that it's like two testimonies going on here. He's trying to change his story in middle. I would say that maybe we don't trust him when it's his own field, something about him is himself. So okay, now we have those two cases. The witnesses that have a document, they signed on the document, they say that it's not good anyway. The field that used to belong to the father, but now it belongs to him. Mishum de Mamaina, that's just monetary issues. But when it comes to a woman that says, I was married, but I'm divorced, a malay, maybe we don't trust her about this. This is ritual law. Or okay, fine. Now the Gemara says, why do I need the case of I was taken captive, but I'm tahar? That's the same case as I was married and I was divorced, right? She's
married, but still pure, like not pure, but like,
no, by the neshpesi, I would say pure. But by married, we just say that she's divorced. Now she wants to get married now, right?
But she didn't have any relations during that marriage, because that would
She did.
be kind of parallel with
No,
being captive, no?
a married woman, she doesn't want to marry a Kohen. She just wants to marry anyone. The problem is that if she's still married, then she can't get married.
Oh, right, yeah.
So she says, I was married, but I'm divorced.
Okay.
Now she's the one that told us she was married. So we believe her that she's divorced because all our information about her marriage was from her, right? The whole marriage was just her story. So we trust her. What about Nishpesi Tairani? She was taken captive and she says that she was taught. Why do I need that? It's the same thing. It says Mishum because it wants to continue on in that Mishnah and say, if after she's married, witnesses show up and say that no, she was taken captive. So in other words, we have an independent source about her captivity. So then really we shouldn't believe her when she says Tahirani. But once she's married already, we let her stay married. Now that's a chiddush. So that's why I brought up that case. Really, for the ne'amanas itself, we don't need it. Just to say that there's a peshasar, we know already peshasar, that we trust her. But what about if witnesses show up? So that's the chiddush. Gemara now says, 1 second, that's not so clear. Because we had two opinions there. One of them taught this on the seifa, which means on this case. No, we had two cases in that Mishnah. I was married, but I'm divorced. Second case, I was taken captive, but I'm pure. Now, if witnesses come later, she's allowed to remain married. Now, which case was that talking about, that last clause? So one opinion said it was talking about the seifa. Says about I was taken captive. If that's the case, then very good. So now that's teaching me a chiddush. But if according to the other opinion that says that it was referring to the first case, where I was married, but I'm divorced, and then witnesses come and tell us that she was married. So now we shouldn't trust her. Tells us that she's allowed to stay married because the heta came.
Second case where she was captured and she wasn't married before, she would be forced to marry the captor. Otherwise, if she was married before, she would be permissible back to her husband.
No, in the case of the would come out was that I know if it's taught on the Resha that I was married but I'm divorced,
Mhm,
and we say, but if witnesses come later and tell us that she's married,
mhm.
then the rule would apply as well to I was taken captive. The rule would apply. But our problem now is, so then if it's the same rule, so why do I need two cases? You're not telling me anything new about I was taken captive.
So the witnesses are contradicting her words,
They're not exactly contradicting. They're just giving us
more information.
they're giving us an independent source of information
Mhm.
that she was taken captive.
Mhm.
And what was the reason why she was believed when she said that she's pure? Because she was the sole source of information that told us she was taken captive. But now I have another source of information that she was taken captive. Maybe I should tell her that now we don't believe her. Kamash Malan, that she's allowed to remain married. Okay. Problem is that would be good only if that was what the Mishnah was referring to. But there's another opinion there that says the Mishnah was referring to the case where she says she was married and divorced. Now I still don't need the case of I was taken captive, but I'm pure. Because it wanted to go on and tell us about if two women were taken captive. This one said that I'm pure and my friend is not. This one said, why do I need that case? What's the chiddush over there? Could have thought that when they each say that the other one is taken was pure, we believe them. I could have thought that maybe they are colluding. What was that? In collusion. So Kamash Malan, that we don't say that, we trust them. Okay. Now the Gemara says, "V'chein shnei anashim lamali." What about this last Mishnah we just said, the Kayanim? This one says I'm a Kayan, this one says I'm a Kayan. Well, Mishum de Kaboy Lemisnei plucked the Rabbi Yehuda v'Rabbanan because we wanted to discuss the machlekes between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan, how many witnesses you need to say that someone is a Kayan. Okay, that's why we brought that up, even though regarding the Pesha Asar, well, it doesn't even teach us the Pesha Asar because he's not saying anything. He's not incriminating himself in any way.
What they want.
By the Goimlin, by the colluding. We're gonna see. We'll discuss that now. That's gonna be the discussion now. Son Rabbanan. Son in a brisa. Ani kayin v'chaveri kayin. I'm a kayin. My friend is also a kayin. Okay. Neman lachila b'tshuma v'nem eine neman lasiya ishad shiyu gimel. Shnayim midem al zeh v'shnayim midem al zeh. We trust that he's a kayin, but only for certain things, not for everything. Until we have three people. What would the three people be? Three people would be one more person. See, Reuven and Shimon. Reuven says Shimon's a kayin. Shimon says Reuven's a kayin. Then all I need is Levi to come along and to say Reuven and Shimon are kayin. Then I know that this wasn't a deal that was made up between Reuven and Shimon. I now have two testimonies regarding each one of them. I have Levi and Reuven testifying about Shimon, and I have Levi and Shimon testifying about Reuven.
So they're all colluding. Why is that not a possibility?
Well, two witnesses, we don't say that they're colluding.
Why not? He says he's the financier. Okay, really?
Okay. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer Af Eine Neman Lachila B'Tshuma Shir Shleisha. The Tanakama held that in order for them to get married, you need three people. But Truma was enough for each to tell about each other. Rabbi Yehuda says even for Truma. Okay. Now, just to clarify, they don't need to be a kayan to get married. What it means is that to trust that they're considered meyuchas. Meyuchas means that they have perfect lineage.
Oh.
So for that, whatever it's relevant for, I'm not sure exactly what it's relevant for.
Like
But-
no dare, or like not in.
Yeah, maybe something like that. So for that, we say that we don't trust them unless there's another witness there. Yeah. There's a big discussion about like schools. Let's say someone is converting and they want to go to a Jewish school. So I think the schools in Miami will accept the potential converts into the school to help them, to
Yeah, they got the money.
but what let's say they don't actually convert.
Ooh,
It was just like
Ah.
then later on this boy or girl, whatever, wants to marry a Jewish person. They say, well, are you Jewish? They say, well, I went to Jewish school. Oh, yeah, I'm Jewish. And they say, oh, well, let's see your report cards.
License to registration.
You have the report cards from the school. Does that really mean that they're Jewish because they were accepted in a Jewish school? They look at the policy. Yeah, we only accept Jewish students. Sounds like that should be approved, right? So the rule is that schools, report cards don't tell us that the person's Jewish. That's like, so therefore it's fine. Someone says, what do you mean? I was bar mitzvah in a Chabad house. That's already something, right?
Oh,
Okay.
That's a better proof.
That would be a better proof. You would have to, I don't know if it's a full proof, but it would be, that's why they're very careful before they do a bar mitzvah. You have to check this, because that would be a proof to mean that later on the person's going to get married to a Jew based on a bar mitzvah, a reading from the Torah.
so they look into
Okay.
the lineage of the mother, father, at the bottom of the time, like,
Yeah,
then you prepared, but
yeah. Yeah,
must be coming back.
Right.
It's the lesson.
L'meimra, okay. Right now, what we have is Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanon, where the Rabbanon are lenient. They trust each other just to feed the fellows, these two people, truma, but not for marriage. And the Rabbi Yehuda says even for truma, we the strict. Even for truma, we don't just two people. L'meimer de Rabbi Yehuda chayish l'gaimlin, Rabbanon lechayish l'gaimlin. Comes out is that Rabbi Yehuda is the one that's concerned that they're colluding for truma, and the Rabbanon aren't concerned about that. But we heard exactly the opposite. We have exactly the opposite story. What did we hear? Tanan, we have a mission that says like this. You have these donkey drivers that came into the town and they're carrying grain. One of them says, my grain is new, but my friend's is old. There's a discussion here if they're talking about the kashrus of the grain, or if they're discussing if the grain is already ready to grind. Older grain would be ready to grind, the fresh grain wouldn't be ready to grind. So the person's basically saying, whatever the case is, my friend's grain is better. Shali ain't a masukin v'shel chaver masukin. Mine, does masukin mean that the meiser? Then mine, I didn't take meiser. My friend is tied. Ain't an eman, is not believed. What is why? Because
the one with grain.
he says that it's his grain is the new one and his
Well,
friend
the
is
other
the old one.
person's is new.
Right. The other person's is old. His
Okay.
is new and the other person's is
Ready
old.
to-
Ready to be ground. But old means better
Right.
in this case.
Yeah.
Well,
You believe them?
the
Don't
first
believe
opinion here that the Rabbanon hold that we don't believe them,
They're colluding.
because right now we think that in this town they are made up that he's going to sell this person's grain.
Right.
In the next town they're going to be taking turns. He's going to sell the other person's grain.
Right.
So, what do you-
Colluding.
Rabbi Yehuda Aimer Naman. Rabbi Yehuda says that we do believe them. Rabbi Yehuda is not concerned about colluding. Well, the problem here is that you told me before that we're concerned about colluding when it came to the Kayanim. Now we don't. Now Rabbi Yehuda doesn't say that. It's a kasha in Rabbi Yehuda. Gemara ignores that it's a contradiction in the Rabbanon. But meanwhile, it's a contradiction in Rabbi Yehuda. Amar Rav Bar Abba Amar Rav Mechlef Zashita. You're right. We're gonna have to switch one of these cases around, and we're gonna switch the names on it, right? Like Rabbi Wine used to say, barrel wine.
Yeah.
Said when the Maggid would come to the town to speak, no. So he would say that he has two suitcases. One has stories, and the other one has names. So he would pick a story from here and pick a name from here, and he would say the story. So here, it got mixed up the names. We got the opinions. Switch one of the names. You're right. Both opinions exist, but the names are not. We have to switch it. Abaya Amar Li'olam Leitepach. Abaya says no. Don't switch the names. B'demai Hikilu. Why? Rav Hamiyaret's master name. Abaya says no. Over here, we're not concerned about colluding, according to Rabbi Yehuda, because we don't really have a concern that the grain was not Meiser wasn't taken. Even if they don't tell us, he says it's Meiser was taken. Sometimes we don't believe in Amaretz to say the Meiser was taken, but we're going to believe. Okay. Why? Because we assume that they did it anyway, even without his testimony. And now with his testimony, it only strengthens that.
Is there a halacha that you can't purchase produce from someone that didn't give Meiser?
Not that you can't purchase it, but you have to take Meiser on your own.
Oh,
Again, even though he claims that he took, right? But if you can't trust him, then you'd have to take Meiser a second time.
wow.
Amar Rava brings out a point over here, interesting point on Abaya. He says you're not resolving the issue because the Rabbi Yehuda the Rabbi Kasha. You presented the question Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yehuda. The Rabbanan like Kasha. You don't have a question the Rabbanan on the Rabbanan. You have a question on the Rabbanan. You only resolve that Meiser regarding the grain will be lenient and will trust that fixes Rabbi Yehuda's issue. But why are the Rabbanan strict over here? Ella the Rabbi Yehuda the Rabbi like Kasha to the Shanin, you're right. But the Rabbanan like Kasha K'tam Rab Chama Barukva. Rab Chama Barukma has an answer for this. Why? Why are the Rabbanan strict over here? The other fellow is holding the instruments that he uses when he's selling the grain. He has the things for the weights and the things, all of that. So that means that he really is selling. He wants to sell the other person. So we know that he wants to sell. So why is he putting down his own grain and putting up the others? It must be that they're they're in collusion. And in cahoots. Okay. Now the Gemara says, where was the original statement of Rav Chama Barukva where we got this idea from? Where did we get this from? What was going on before? It says, Tanan, there was another Mishnah that said like this. Hakadar, Shehiniach Kedei Reisav, the Yared Lishtes. There's a potter that he makes his pots pure, but the problem is that he left them for a moment because he left them on their own and he went. People were going to use these pots for truma and things or whatever, but he left them and he went down to get a drink of water. So it says, the pots on the inside are tar, but the ones on the outside are tummy. Now, people would buy pots. So it's possible that someone actually touched the pot, someone that was tummy touched the pot, made it tummy.
At work, sometimes they bring food and put in like a public fridge and work with going.
Right.
They you have to tie it up.
Right.
Like,
yeah, you should.
Yeah. But I
So what you do? You tie up your food in the fridge?
I could open it, but
so you put a label on it?
Then you go buy
It doesn't
We
have,
have up in the fridge, it's always.
it doesn't have to be impossible to read.
You just have to know whether.
No, it just has to be difficult to the double seal. One seal that's impossible to open and then reclose is just as good as two seals that are possible to. Yeah. So in other words, like a knot and a staple or something, which someone else can come and staple it too. It's not a proof, but it's good enough. We're talking about the effort going through that someone should actually change the food. That's okay. But anyway, over here, we say that the inner ones are tar and the outer ones are tummy. It says, but problem is, Vatani, we have a brisa elevela tameis. That they're both tummy. Well, Amar Rab Chama Baruch b'Shekliyim Nasi Biyadi. Problem is that it's very obvious that those pots were for sale. Why? Because he has the utensils that he uses when he sells pots. I don't know what they would look like. Maybe a scale of some sort or something. If that's the case, then everyone knows that he's selling and everyone is touching them. That's why they're all tummy. On the other hand, if he doesn't have those utensils there that he's actually selling, then we only say that the outer ones are tummy, the inner ones are tar. The problem is, Vatanya Elevel Tahiris. We have a brisa that says that they're all tahar, not tummy. Well, Amar Rav Chama Baruch b'Shem Kleim Nasi Biyadi over there when he doesn't have those vessels with him. Well, now we have a problem. Then what was the case where the inner ones are tar and the outer ones are tummy? If he has them with him, his utensils, then everything should be tummy. If he doesn't have them with him, everything should be tar. How do you have this? The inner ones, yes, outer ones, no. Outer ones tummy. Well, the Gemara says it's not talking about people that are coming and checking out his pots for purchasing. It's the smichel rabim. It was actually he just left it like on the sidewalk. Mishum chifufi rishus rabim. What's going on is that because people are passing by, they may have touched it just because of the crowds in the rishus rabim. Apparently, there's like these boulders that they put in front of the stores or something. I think they're for security, so cars don't ram into the barriers. So they would have also some sort of piles or something in the ground that would stop the wagons from going into the fences of the people's properties.
Stakes and
those stakes. So he left it amongst those stakes. He left his barrels there amongst the stakes. So people walking by might have ended up touching the outer ones, not because they think that they're for sale, because he doesn't have the utensils with him. But the inner ones, we don't think that people touched. Okay. Remember how we got into this? Was because we were talking about, are they colluding here when they each one testifies about the other one? And the problem is that Rabbi Yehuda told us that they are colluding. And then we had another statement from Rabbi Yehuda which says that they're not colluding. So we have to answer this up. So we said over here, we're talking about that it's just truma, and that's why he's more lenient. And then what about the Rabbanan? Why are they doing that? We said, well, the Rabbanan have their own reason. The Rabbanan, because the person doesn't have he has his utensils with him. We know that he's selling and made it worse. Okay, now we go back and we say, we got it all wrong.
No.
It wasn't a machlekes about if they're colluding, if they're in cahoots. Machlekes here is, if we say that the person is allowed to eat truma, does that mean that he'll automatically now be able to get married to anyone he wants? Because what do you mean he eats truma? Or no? So the Rabbanan say no, just the fact that he ate truma is nothing, so we can let him eat truma. We don't need any better proof for this because it's not. That's where it stops. It stops with truma.
And therefore they can't.
I know. So that's Rabbi Yehuda's view. Rabbi Yehuda's view is if they have truma, then they're a Kohen. Then obviously they have all the lineage. And the Rabbanan say no. Truma is only one step. That doesn't mean that they're really fully a Kohen. And so, It's like the report card.
Oh, I
Tell
had
you what, it
the,
doesn't fully prove.
impression if there was a doubt, didn't they say that you cannot eat?
Right.
truma
If
you
there's
do
a
have
doubt, they
this-
won't be allowed to eat truma. But the only thing is here, there's different levels of I'll give you an example. Someone comes to shul, says that he's Jewish, everything. Okay, looks Jewish, everything looks fine. He has a hat or something. He has tefillin in his arm. They give him an aliyah. Then becomes a member. Then he wants to get married. So they say, okay, 1 second.
Oh, you-
Show me the ksuba from your parents. Yeah, start asking questions. So just because he came to shul and he davens there and they accept him and they give him aliyahs, that doesn't mean that he's Jewish and he can get married. So that's what Rabbi Yehuda holds. That's what the Rabbanan hold. Rabbanan hold is that we give him truma, but that doesn't mean that he's fully a Kohen for everything else. And so therefore we have no problem doing that first step because it never leads to the second step. But Rabbi Yehuda says, no, once you let him in the door to eat truma, then he's going to be a Kohen for everything. And then so therefore, even to eat truma, we have to do their proper investigation right away. Ibayilu, now they have a question. Can we make someone of perfect lineage based on the document? Mar says, Hechidami. What's the case? It says on the document, it says, I, so and so, the Kayan, signed as a witness. Man kamasa dilaveh. Who's testifying about it? His own testimony. That's not going to work. Okay. Leitzricha the ksiv be'ani pleni Kayan lavisi manim mipleni. It doesn't say that. It says, I, so and so, the Kohen, borrowed money from so and so, and the chasimu sadi. And the witnesses signed on that document. Now we have witnesses testifying that he's a Kohen. It says, "My." What's the halacha? Amana shebishtar kamasadi. Are they testifying about the loan? Idilma kulam elsa kamasadi. Are they testifying about everything? Rav Huna and Rav Chisda argue about this. Chadam ar malin, v'chadam rein malin. One says that that's valid. Other one says that it's not valid. The document is valid, but it doesn't tell us that if he's a Kohen or not.
You still have to pay back the money. Well, how about the other one? He's a Cohen, but the money part is false.
That's not one of the options.
The second case. You were supposed to sign it, I said.
Right.
For the sum. In theory. Some check.
Yeah. But maybe he doesn't have to check that. And maybe he only has to check. He doesn't have to check if the other person is a Kohen when he signs his name. Does he have to check is his name really Yosef ben Shimon? No, the guy says his name is Yosef ben Shimon.
A Cohen. That's it. So the name part is irrelevant.
Right. Possibly. There's different opinions here. We'll do a get, a divorce, for someone that that had a conversion that was conservative. So not an Orthodox conversion, we'll still do a get. Now, if the get would prove that they're Jewish, then that would be problematic. You say, what do you mean? I have an Orthodox get. Of course I'm Jewish. Doesn't, but the rabbis have to know that a get doesn't really prove that. Because a get they'll do even for someone that's not 100%, even if there's a doubt or something, they'll follow. A wedding, it would be different. A ksuba would be different. But a get, it wouldn't be a full proof. Okay. What about someone duchens in shul? Does that mean that he can marry whoever? Now, again, the issue over here is two possibilities. One is that there's a concept of yuchsin. People want to know the lineage. Other one is that is everything else in order? If he's a Kohen, then for sure everything else is in order. So automatically we'd say, oh, because he duchen, that means everything else is in order. Right? It's impossible to be a mamzer and a Kohen, right? Let's say there's other shilas here. Oh, he's duchen in shul, for sure everything is good, right? So we have a question on both. On both. In other words, we had two opinions before. We had the opinion of if truma makes a person of perfect lineage, and if truma is only truma. Now we have a question if nesias kapayim, if duchening, they raise their hand, birkas kainim, if that makes a person a kayan for everything because we know that they did that. Well, tiboilamandam or mylan. The question according to the one that says that truma worked. Well, hanimili truma davain misahi. If he wasn't a real kayan, he never would have eaten truma because that a non-kayan that eats truma is death penalty from heaven. Aval nesias kapayim disra say lie, but duchening, it's just a violation of a positive command. It says that the kohen should duchen, and he wasn't a kohen. But it doesn't say that a non-kohen is not allowed to.
Is
so
he claiming himself as a
he's
Kohen?
claiming that he's a kohen, and see, I even duchen. My father duchen.
Because we learned earlier that if he claims that someone else is a Kohen, and
Then that would work.
That would?
Yeah.
You could have two of them.
Or someone says he's an imposter, that guy raised his hands, he's not for real, do they believe him?
Just remember.
Then
The other synagogue we came from,
Maybe I
I
misunderstood.
saw him there and he didn't do it, here he comes to this synagogue and he raises his hand,
right.
that's what he said, anyway.
Yeah, I don't know the answer.
This one to hurt me.
I mentioned I was at a kiddush for someone that became a Levi. He found his parents' ksuba. His father was a Levi. He never knew. It was about Shiva, and somehow he got a hold of the ksuba many years later. Grown children and everything, and there was some.
Wow, amazing.
What is that? Oh, someone else. He found out he was a Levi. Oh. Uh-huh. Okay, so they still have a question over here. What about duchening? Oidil malishna, or maybe there's no difference. Okay, now we have a question according to the other opinion as well. Even according to the opinion that says truma would not make a person into a kohen. Hani mili truma de mesachla betzina. He says he ate truma. He ate it privately. He got it from the people, the farmers. But avanasias kapayim the farhesya. But when it comes to duchening, that he doesn't shul. Ilav kayanu kuli hay lemechza finish nafshay. No one would be so such chutzpah to do that if he's not really a kohen. Idil malishna, or maybe there's no difference.
Yeah,
Maybe
because if it's Truma's food and it's like everyone wants food.
right. That's another point. Jonathan has a good point. Also, the
They
Truma's
actually,
food.
yeah,
Okay.
it's free meal.
I'm not going to comment. Okay. What's the answer to this question? We're talking about duchening. Does a person become a kohen because he duchen? Is that enough proof that he duchen now that he's automatically a kohen for everything? There's two opinions. Okay. Amalei Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak l'Rav, or Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says to Rav, let's take a look at the chart. Should be a student of Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak.
We have a mission that said if two man's lineage is unknown, one says I'm a priest, and another says I'm a priest, and not being.
They're not. And then if you go further in that Mishnah, it says, but if he says about his friend that his friend is a priest, then he is believed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we would trust one witness. Now, together with this, what we're getting testimony about over here is that he ate truma. He's not saying that he ate truma. We have testimony that he ate truma.
Mm.
Is that good enough? Or we have testimony that he duchen. Is that good enough? Right?
Yeah.
We don't have testimony. No one knows his family. We don't know about the family. We don't have witnesses that say, "Oh yeah, I knew the family
Mhm.
from back in the old country." We don't have that testimony. We just know that that someone said that I remember he ate truma.
Mhm.
Is that good enough for everything? Okay. Well, Amalei Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak l'Rav Amala halis min siyas kapayim liyochsin. He asked the question: can we say that because he duchens, that means automatically he's a Kohen? Amalei plugged to the Rav Chisda Ravina to machlekes. Okay, but Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak doesn't stop there. He says Hilchas Amai. Who was the halacha like? Amalei Rava tells him, "Anamas nisi yadana." I know a Mishnah. The Tanya was taught in the Mishnah. Rabbi Yisrael Megadol Chazaka. Chazaka is very strong. Chazaka means a presumed assumption. Shenemar, it says in the pasuk, "Mebnei Kayanim," is it's listing out the people that came back together with Ezra to Eretz Yisrael by the second Beis Hamikdash. Only 42,360 came, and the Levi, a lot of Leviim didn't come, but the Kayanim, some Kayanim came. Mebnei Kayanim, who were the Kayanim that came? Bnei Chavia, Bnei Akaitz, Ben Barzilai, Ashalakach, Mibnais Barzilai Galadi. Why are they called Bnei Barzilai? Because they married from the daughters of Barzilai Galadi, Isha, Yikral Shmam, and they were called by the name Ela Bikshu, Kasvam Hamesyachsim. They were asking for their lineage document. Nimtzu. By Yigolam and Akuna. How do they translate by Yigolam and Akuna? This year. And they redeemed tainted. The Golu is tainted. Put from the priesthood. Yigolam and Akuna. Well, Vayomer Hatarshasa. That's Nehemiah. Lahem. Nehemiah tells him. Nehemiah was the like the governor. Yeah, that's his name. Well, Asher Layochlo. Why was he called Hatarshasa? Because he was the chief butler for the king, and he would have to drink the wine before he served it, because they didn't trust the person serving the wine. They thought that maybe it was poison, so he'd have to drink. So officially, there was a rule that you're not allowed to drink wine that Goyim handled. So, but he was allowed to. So, heter shtia. He was allowed to heter shtia, hartarshta. That was he was allowed to drink. It was a special heter that he had. Said you can't become a Kayan until you can't eat from the Kodesh HaKadoshim until the Kayan's going to stand up with the Urim B'Tumim, which means until Mashiach comes. Basically means you can't serve, because we don't have proof about your lineage. Well, Amalahem, what did he mean to say? Harei atem b'chazkaschem, you still in your same situation. You're a doubt. What would you eat in the exile? The kachi agvul. You would eat kachi agvul. What's kachi agvul? That's truma. So afkan b'kachi agvul, you can continue to eat truma. Okay. This is Rava telling Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Malin Messias Kapayim liyachsin. Hani kiven the parsi yadayo asid lasukinu. They also did duchening. And if you can make someone a kohen because he duchened, so then these people would become kohenim. Well, no. Normally we could make a person a kohen, but over here there was a problem. There was a problem with the yuchsin. If we don't say there was a problem, what's the riach haskayu? Riach haskayu is that everyone else is eating from the karbanos and they're not. So then we don't have a problem with it. Okay. What about the first problem? What about eating truma? There is an opinion that holds eating truma makes them into kayanim, right? So if that's the case, well, it makes them that we trust that they're now that they're kayanim. So how could Nehemiah tell them that you can eat truma? So Elav mishum duriachas kaya must be that the reason why he was able to do is because since they're not eating the other things, that proves that there's a problem there, and therefore we won't make them into kayanim. So why did he start out saying that chazaka is so great? If he wanted to say that we don't establish them as a kayan, right? So the Gemara answers me, karachal b'truma derabanan hastachal b'truma deraisa. No, the chazaka of truma, the chazaka that they had, that they were able to eat truma in Bavel, now allows them to eat truma deraisa in Eretz Yisrael. So that's the gedela chazaka, but it doesn't go above truma. Aval hashta achal b'truma deraisa. Yiba yisayim another pshat. Hashta nami b'truma derabanan achal. B'truma deraisa lo yachal. Really, they can't eat truma deraisa either. What's the difference, truma derabanan and truma deraisa? Well, there's two possible ways of distinguishing. The truma derabanan would be truma outside the land of Israel, but it's grain or whatever. Truma deraisa is in the land of Israel, and there's another possible that truma derabanan is only on the things that requires truma deraisa is on the things that the Torah tells us require truma. That's grain, wine, and oil. And but the truma derabanan may be on other things that were just decrees of whatever you have to take truma from. Okay, so it's either the item or the location. Now, we have a teretz over here. The teretz is that when do we say that you can go from truma to yuchsin according to that opinion that said that because he eats truma, that automatically is a kain, that's by truma deraisa. But here they're only allowed to eat truma derabanan. Well, if that's the case, then we don't understand the brisa. Well, why do you say that the chazaka is so great? They're not doing anything special. They were eating truma before truma derabanan. My answer is that in Bavel there was no such thing as truma deraisa. But over here in Israel, there is truma deraisa on those special items: the grain, the wine, and the oil. That's truma deraisa. And nevertheless, we let them eat truma derabanan, even though the grain, wine, and oil here is truma deraisa, and we're not concerned that they may confuse them. They eat truma, maybe they could eat also the other truma. It's fine. The Gemara says, "But truma deraisa layachal." They can't eat truma deraisa. It says that they can eat from the kodesh hakadashim.
They'll only would the Kohen Gadol only eat from that?
No,
No, not necessarily.
any kind from the karbanos. It says he can't eat from the sacrifices, but it sounds like he can eat from the truma. The Gemara says, can't eat anything that's called kodesh. The ksiv v'chol zeh leyechol kodesh. Midi dikri kadashim. Mikodesh hakadashim. Can't eat from things that are kodesh, which is truma, and he can't eat from kadashim, which is the ksiv v'basking ksilish zar. He b'trumas hakadashim leiseichal. V'amar b'murim min hakadashim leiseichal. She can't eat from the what's elevated from the sacrifices, which the chazav b'sheik of the karbanos,
Which includes truma.
So truma, she's allowed to eat. When a woman gets marries the kohen, she's allowed to eat the truma. She's not allowed to eat the murim and akadashim. She's not an actual kohen. Zichri, and it's anyway zichri kuna, I think. I'm not sure about that. Whatever the case is, we're saying over here that this family, Bnei Barzilai, the Bnei Akaitz, no, not Bnei Akaitz, Bnei Barzilai. Those people that had the question on them, so they were not allowed to eat truma deraisa, also not allowed to eat from the karbanos. Tashema. Chazaka lakuna. What is a chazaka lakuna? How do we know what's it going to make someone assume to be a kayan? Goes like this. Nesias kapayim bebavel. In Bavel, duchening was enough. That would make someone a kohen. Achilas chala b'surya. Eating challah, which is the dough that's removed, 1/24 or 1/48 of the dough that's removed to given to the kohen, that's going to make someone a kohen in Syria. Syria was the land that David HaMelech, it's Aram Tzeva. David HaMelech conquered it, but not after everything else was conquered. So it's considered kibush yachid. So there's a discussion if kibush yachid, conquered by an individual, it's just a private conquering, if that's really considered Eretz Yisrael or not. So this opinion holds that it is considered, and the Truma is deraisa, and the Challah is deraisa. So therefore, if he's eating Challah, then obviously he's a full kohen. V'chiluk matanis b'krachim. And then if he gets the matanis, which is the parts of the animal that's given to the kohen, every time if someone shechs an animal, you have to give the leg, the front leg, and part of the stomach to the kohen, and not part of the stomach. That was from the part of the cheek was given to the kohen, so that would be good enough in the krachim in the villages.
The first few examples, you say, well, very careful. Syria, very careful to say, because it's built, is what it's
Over there, people in cities, rather, not villages. It's in the cities. Over there, people were passing by and they would see who's getting it, and they'd say, "What are you doing? You don't belong there. You're not a kohen." So because there's so many people that would, he wouldn't just stand in line to get the food. It wasn't coming to. Tani Miyas, look at what we taught. Nesias kapayim. How do you make someone a kohen if he's duchening? That's exactly what we were looking for. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak's question: do you make someone a kohen from duchening? The answer is yes. My lovely yuchsin. Is it not to make him into a kohen that his lineage is perfect? It says lo l'truma. It's talking about that we give him truma. Gemara says, but we had three cases here. We had Nesias Kapayim, we had Chala, and we had Matanis, which is the Zraya and Lachayim, and the hand and the cheek. They should all be the same thing. All of them were talking about Yochsin. So what are you telling me that Duchening is the only one that's out? It says, well, Ma'achilas Chala Liyochsin. No, Ma'achilas Chala Liyochsin, Nesias Kapayim Liyochsin. It's part of the question. It should be that it makes him into a full kohen. Gemara says, no, lie. Achilas Chala Gufei L'Truma. That itself is only telling me that if he eats Chala, now we can give him Truma. The Savar Chala Bisman Azed Rabbanan, the Truma Deraisa. He holds Chala is a Derabanan. But once he eats Chala, we can allow him to eat Truma. Maskinan Mechala Derabanan L'Truma Deraisa. We can bring a person up from one level to the next level. Not all the way, but we can allow him to eat Truma, even though Truma is Deraisa and Chala is only a Derabanan. We got to figure out why this is. The Gemara is going to explain. Could the Apachlu Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua Rabbanan, like Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua, adjusted for the Rabbanan, as we're going to see now. Tashima, son and Abrais. Chazaka Lakuna, Nesias Kapayim. The Chiluk Quranis, Eretz Yisrael. In Eretz Yisrael, what's a chazaka that someone's a kohen? He duchens, and he gets the grain, the truma grain from the granary, granis, in Eretz Yisrael, from the threshing floor. Ubesuria, ubechol makom sheshluchei rosh chodesh magian nesias kapayim raya avalei chiluk granis. The area outside of Eretz Yisrael also has the dinim of truma. So anywhere within 15 days journey around Eretz Yisrael, that's the area where the witnesses would be able to go, not the witnesses, the messengers would be able to go to tell us when what day was Rosh Chodesh. That's a 15-day circumference. You can't really go in the Mediterranean like that, but over the other part. So that whole area, I could only use Nesias Kapayim, and I can't use the Nesias Kapayim Duchening, but I can't use the Truma there. Now it says bubble Kesurya. Bubble is like Surya. Same thing. I can only use Nasias Kapayim. Duchening, I can't use Truma. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, Af Alexandria Shel Mitzrayim. Also Alexandria. Okay. Barishayna originally. Neshe Bezdin Kvuin Shem, because we have a Bezdin there. And the Bezdin would make sure that everyone is actually a Kohen if they're claiming they're a Kohen. Tani Mias Nasias Kapayim. Look at what we taught. Nasias Kapayim. That works. My Lavli Yuchzin must mean that when someone duchens, he becomes a Kohen automatically. The Gemara says Leila Chala. Just means that it's for Chala. That he can eat Chala. So Dumi the Chilak Ranas Ktani. But it's talking about getting grain. We compared the two. You said Nasias Kapayim and Chilak Ranas. Well, and how does this work? Ma Chilak Ranas liyachsin after Nasias Kapayim liyachsin. Should be if you can get Truma, then you can also get you become a Kohen. So also the duchening, you should make him into a Kohen. The Gemara says like Chilak Ranas Kufei Lechala. Even getting Truma only helped him get the Chala. Why? Because Kosavar Truma Bismana said the Rabbanan v'Chala deraisa. Because he holds that Truma was a derabanan and Chala is a deraisa. If he gets the Truma, then we can allow him to get Chala. Maskina mi Truma deraban l'Chala deraisa. Ukeda ashkechinu Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua l'Rabbanan. The Amar Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua. As Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua found the rabbis, and he says, Rav Huna Breder says, ashkechinu l'Rabbanan b'bei Rav. I found the rabbis in the yeshiva of Rav. Now, Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua is like the 5th generation in the Amirayim. He's a friend of Rav Papa. He did not actually find these students of Rav because Rav was the 1st generation. So there's probably 200 years in the middle or something. So Rashi tells us over here, Bebei Rav means the Beis Medrash Kari Bei Rav. Doesn't actually mean Rav. It just means in the Beis Medrash. It's not Rav, it's the person. It's Rav, doesn't like rabbi in the yeshiva. So he found them, the Yasva Kamri that they were saying, even if we say Truma Bismana says derabanan, but Chalas deraisa. Chalas deraisa. That's what they held. They held Trumas derabanan, Chalas deraisa. Why? Zayin shekivshu v'zayin shechilku neschayevu b'chala, lein neschayevu b'truma. As soon as they came into the land of Israel, it took them 7 years to conquer the land, and then another 7 years to divide it, to apportion it out. So that's 14 years. They only were responsible for Truma after it was conquered and divided. However, the rules of Chala were even when they came into the land of Israel originally. They didn't have to, they were chayav and chala even before the conquering of the land. They had the dough. There's a discussion if they had dough from outside the land of Israel that they brought into the land of Israel, would that still be chayav and chala? It says when you enter the land, when you come into the land, you're chayav. Usually the rules say kisavayu alarts. Here it says b'vayachem, and because of that switch, the Gemara tells us that they're chayav and chala from when they first came in. So if that's the case, then chala would be a deraisa, just coming into the land, even though bisman hazeh we don't actually have the land fully, right? We don't really have the land, but nevertheless, we didn't need to have the land to be chayav and chala. But truma, you have to have the land. So that's if you don't have everyone back in the land or whatever. So then Truma is going to be a deraban, Chal is going to be a deraisa. However, Vamina Lo Ana, this Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua tells the students in the yeshiva, Adarabba, Afilu Lamanda Truma Bizman Azed deraisa, Chal is deraban. It's exactly the opposite. Even if you want to say Truma is the deraisa, Chal is always the derabanan. The Tanya bebayachem alarts starting in a brayso when you come in the land. Ibebayachem. If when you come into the land, that means Yachal Mishnichnas Salah Shnaim Shleshim Raglim. Maybe even when the spies came into the land, it should already be chayav. When you, plural, come in, only when all of you come in and not when some of you come in. Okay, that's the case. The Chiyaskinu Ezra, when Ezra came back, Lab Kula Salak, not everyone came back. It was only call 40,000. Rashi tells us 42,000. Okay, since not everyone came back, so Chala is going to be only Derabanan. What does this tell us now? Back to what we were discussing before. We said that if someone eats Chala, that means that he's a Kohen and we can elevate him to the status of a Kohen. It doesn't mean that he's elevated to the status of Kohen for marriage. He's only elevated to the status of a Kohen to eat Truma. Why is that any better? Because Chala is Derabanan and Truma is Deraisa. Let me go drop that. Tashma. Chazaka lakuna nesias kapayim v'chilek ranas vedas. A presumed status for kuna is if he duchens, if he gets truma, and if there's testimony. Where it says Eidas Chazaki, that's a chazaka, that's a presumed status, that's a testimony. Alav hachikama. What it really means is like this: Nesias kapayim ki Eidas. It's just like testimony if someone duchens. Yeah, ducheni. Ma Eidas liyuchsin, just like testimony would tell us about the family. Testimony about the family would tell us. They know the father, they know the mother, would tell us that his lineage is perfect. So af Nesias kapayim liyuchsin. See? Nesias kapayim takes us back to yuchsin. If it takes us up, that if a person duchens, that means that he's a full-fledged kayin. Yeah.
We said
But
earlier
what
that
I mean is that he would never do that if he wasn't really a Kohen.
it's not food.
It says like, Eidas haba mikaya chazaka kechazaka. It's testimony that comes, very good, Dr. Stein. Testimony that comes from chazaka is like a chazaka. Yudas lekami de Rabami. Someone came in front of Rabami. Amalei. He tells Rabami, "Machzakani b'zeshu kayin." I know that this person is a kayin. He's testifying about someone else. Amalei Marisa. How do you know that he's a kayin? Amalei shekar rishon beis hakneses b'cheskas shu kayin. He read the Torah first. That must mean he's a kayin. B'cheskas shu gadol. Or maybe it means he's a great person. Shekar achrav Levi. And what happened? After the kayin, they called up a Levi. Now the rule is that if you don't have a kayin there, so you can call up someone else, but you don't call a Levi after that person. So this must have been a kayin. And Rabami made him a kayin based on that testimony. So that is a testimony based on a chazaka. Yeah. Go another piece. Yeah. Who does? Is that okay?
So because he read,
How is it testimony based on that result? Exactly, which is presumption.
Yeah.
Now I'm saying that presumption is.
We know. You see, the problem here is at least the Levi that got the Aliyah after him is proving to us that this fellow is a kayin. How do I know that he was a Levi? That's a chazaka. So you're basing a testimony based on the chazaka of the Levi. There's a testimony, he's a kain based on the chazaka of the Levi. Yeah, that's what Tosfos learns it. Who does the lakami de Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi? Someone came in front of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Okay. Levi. I know that this person is a Levi. Amalei Marisa. How do you know? Amalei Shekar Sheni basically Levi, because he was called second. Now, if there was no Kohen there, then you don't call the Levi second. And if there is a Kohen, you don't call if there is a Kohen, then you have to call the Levi second, right? The one before him was a Kohen. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Levia al Piv. He became a Levi. What's the significance of that? He gets Meiser. Yeah. Apparently, in the days of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, they were giving the Levi and Meiser. Who does the come to Rish Lakish? Amalei Machzakani Bezeshu Kayan. Says, I know that this person is a Kayan. Amalei Mari Isa Shakara Rishon Beis HaKnesses. How do you know? You saw him read first in the Beis HaKnesses. Did you see that? Amalei Reisav Shchilak Alagranis. No, I saw that he was getting truma by the granaries. Amalei Rabbi Lazar. So Rabbi Lazar says, V'mein Shem Garden Batal Kuna. Okay. No, I read it wrong. You have to read it like this. Amalei, I skipped the Amalei. Amalei Mari Isa. How do you know that he's a Kayan? Amalei, he said Shakar Rishon Beis HaKnesses, because he got the first Aliyah. Amalei, he tells him back, that's not enough for me. Reisiv Shachilak Alagranis. Did you find that did you see him that he got Truma also? Like that's going to be the deciding factor. Amalei Rabbi Lazar V'mein Shem Garim Bat Lakuna. If there's no granary there, then we're not going to have kayanim. No, it's all dependent on that. Okay. What happened next was Zimnan Haviyasin Kamei the Rabbi Yochanan. These are two students of Rabbi Yochanan, Rish Lakish and Rabbi Lazar. They happen to be by Rabbi Yochanan, and Asa Ki HaMaisel Kamei. In front of Rabbi Yochanan comes the exact same story. Amalei Rish Lakish Risav Shchilak Alagayrin. Rish Lakish asked the same question. He said, "Did you find that he got truma?" Amalei Rabbi Yochanan V'Ein Garin Bat Lakuna. And if there's no garin, if there's no granary, then we're not going to have a kayan here. Rabbi Yochanan asked the same question that Rabbi Lazar asked to Rish Lakish. Hadar Chazia Rabbi Lazar Bishas. He looks back at Rabbi Lazar and he sees he looked bad at Rabbi Lazar. He gave a bad look to him because Amar Shamat Mili de Barnafcha Valayametlan Mishmei. You heard that question that you asked me in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, but you didn't say it in his name. So, what he wanted was that Rabbi Lazar should have said that he heard that question about what you need. You need a granary to have a kayanim. It's enough that if he was laying first, that he got the first aliyah, that would make him a kayan. Now we have another Gemara where Rabbi Lazar didn't say things in Rabbi Yochanan's name, and the Gemara tells us that Rabbi Yochanan was upset with him, and the way that they consoled Rabbi Yochanan was to say, "Did you think Yeshua or Moshe said everything that so says Hashem?" We knew that was he was saying in Hashem's name. That's of course, or in Moshe's or Rabbi's name. You don't have to say that every time. So Rabbi Lazar, everything that he says is in your name. He doesn't have to say every time. Okay, let's leave it over here. What's up, everyone?
Thank you.
A good day.